What if I told you that an entire village, more than 200 people, vanished in a single night? They left behind their meals still warm on their tables, fires still crackling, and not a single footprint in the fresh snow. No one ever saw them again. This is the chilling story of the village that disappeared overnight, deep in the heart of northern Canada, nestled by the vast frozen expanse of Angikuni Lake. There once stood a small Inuit village. It was a place of peace, quiet and profound isolation from the bustling modern world. The people here lived in harmony with the land, their lives dictated by the rhythm of the seasons. But one frigid night in November 1930, the impossible happened. The entire village, every man, woman, and child, vanished without a trace. Our story begins with a man named Joe LaBelle, a seasoned fur trapper who knew this unforgiving wilderness like the back of his hand. He was making his way through the frozen landscape, expecting a warm welcome at Angikuni, a village he had visited many times before to trade supplies and share stories. But as he crested the final ridge overlooking the familiar settlement, a deep sense of unease crept over him. The air was unnaturally still. There was no smoke rising from the chimneys, no joyful cries of children playing, no barking dogs. Just a profound, endless silence that seemed to swallow all sound. The village looked like a ghost town, a frozen snapshot in time. With his heart pounding in his chest, Joe cautiously made his way down into the village. The scene that greeted him was beyond strange. It was terrifying. Every hut was empty. Inside one, a pot of stew was still hanging over a fire that had clearly burned out just hours before. In another, half-mended clothes were laid out, a bone needle still stuck in a piece of caribou hide, as if the seamstress had just stepped away for a moment. Rifles, tools, and personal belongings were all in their rightful places, leaning against the walls of the homes. But there were no people, not a single soul. The mystery deepened. Behind one of the huts, Joe found the villagers' sled dogs, all 7 of them, tied to their posts. They were frozen solid, having starved to death despite the abundance of food stored just a few feet away. This made no sense. The Inuit people cherish their dogs. They are their lifeline in the Arctic. To abandon them like this was unthinkable. Then Joe discovered something even more bizarre. In what appeared to be a makeshift burial ground at the edge of the camp, several graves had been carefully and respectfully unearthed. The stones that marked them were stacked neatly to the side, but the bodies within were gone. Why would they do this? Why dig up their ancestors only to disappear? And perhaps the most baffling clue of all, or rather the lack of one, the village was surrounded by a fresh blanket of undisturbed snow. There were no footprints leading away from the village, not from 200 people, not from a single person. It was as if they had all been plucked from the ground and lifted straight into the sky. Panicked, Joe LaBelle mushed his dog team for 2 days straight to the nearest telegraph station to report what he had seen. The Royal Canadian Mounted Police, initially skeptical, dispatched a team to investigate. When the officers arrived at Angikuni Lake, they confirmed every single detail of Joe's terrifying account. The village was empty, the dogs were dead, and the graves were open. The official report noted the eerie, quiet, and the perfectly preserved, yet abandoned, state of the village. Word of the vanishing village spread like wildfire, and theories began to fly. What could have happened? Some people whispered of a mass abduction, not by humans, but by something else. Others spoke of an ancient curse laid upon the land, a spiritual force that claimed the villagers. Local trappers and members of other First Nations communities reported seeing a strange, pulsating light in the sky over Angikuni Lake around the time the villagers disappeared. They described it as a cylindrical or bullet-shaped object, glowing with an otherworldly green light, moving silently through the night. Could the legendary Northern Lights have played a role, or was this something entirely different? The police investigation turned up nothing. No signs of a struggle, no bodies, no clues as to where the villagers could have gone. They searched the vast surrounding wilderness for months, but it was as if the 200 inhabitants of Angikuni had simply ceased to exist. Over the decades, the story has become one of Canada's greatest unsolved mysteries, a chilling piece of folklore that blurs the line between fact and fiction. Skeptics have tried to debunk the story, suggesting it was exaggerated over time, or that the villagers simply migrated and the details were embellished. But the official police records and the first-hand accounts of experienced woodsmen like Joe LaBelle tell a different story. They speak of a scene that defies logical explanation. To this day, no trace of the Angikuni Lake people has ever been found. No bones, no lost artifacts, no distant relatives surfacing in other communities. It's just an empty village, a collection of silent huts slowly being reclaimed by the unforgiving Arctic landscape. A chilling monument to a community swallowed by ice and mystery. Some say that if you visit Angikuni Lake on a silent winter night, when the moon is bright and the snow is deep, you can still hear them. Whispers carried on the Arctic wind, the ghostly voices of a village that vanished overnight. What do you think happened to them? Let me know your theories in the comments below. Thanks for joining me on this journey into the unknown. If you enjoy mysteries like this, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more strange stories from around the world. Stay curious and see you next time.